Welcome to the broadcast, everybody. We're going to start with a comment I received about the Sycamore Gap tree because it ties in with the resurgence and the reappearance of the Princess of Wales. Miss Lee NY says, I know you've got 1,000 comments to wade through, but if you have an update on the arborcidal vandal who killed the famous old sycamore tree, I'd love to hear it. Wondering who did it, why, and if they will be charged. I pray they will. As a tree fanatic, that crime pained me deeply. Great look this evening, by the way. Yes, thank you for all the love over the antlers or whatever those twiggy things were on my head. I thought they would take some disparagement, but they went down very well with many of you, and I'm delighted. All I try to do is make you chuckle, raise a little smile, and have a moment's tonic, my dear, and I seem to have achieved that with the look. On this day that Catherine has shared a photograph of her springtime restoration and her proof of life, if you will, for all those naysayers and doubters and conspiracy theorists, my dear. It is a good time to weave this into the story. Having the rescued seeds and the twigs of the Sycamore Gap tree shown to us, shown in their infancy, blooming, is that the right word for a tree? I'm thinking of flowers, but coming into life, regenerating, there you go, there's a word for you, my dears. For those who didn't see my broadcast on the Sycamore Gap tree, a famous iconic tree captured between two hills, beautiful, was chopped down last year by vandals. Truly, it moved the nation, it stunned us, and brought many of us to tears. It's the most beloved tree, really, of the nation in many ways, or was. Only the stump of the original remains. And if it stays healthy, they won't know for another 2 or 3 years, but if it remains healthy, something will grow from it. It might form a new tree, but it will take 25 years to reach its sort of adult height and 100 years to full maturation, and it won't be exactly what it was. Personally, I think that they should place a sculpture there or behind where the stump is. A sculpture that is beautiful, nothing extravagant, something in white or silver that reflects the light around it in the exact format of the tree that was chopped down. So it forms a wonderful silhouette. Something graceful, not bronze. I'm not a fan of bronze at all, I'm afraid. But that would be wonderful. And in response to your question, 2 men remain on bail. The boy that was arrested originally, I think the youngster and someone else were released, but 2 others remain on bail for a deliberate act of vandalism. And investigators found specks of chainsaw oil. Isn't that something? That must have taken going through quite a number of blades of grass. They found chainsaw oil at the scene, which could provide a unique fingerprint and identify a suspect. We will see. But these new saplings are at a secret location in a greenhouse somewhere in Devon. Nobody knows about this secret greenhouse, which houses many copies of famous trees and plants, such as the apple tree, associated with Sir Isaac Newton, that was said to have inspired him to discover gravity, or the implications of gravity, his theories of gravity, and the 2,500-year-old tree that was known to King Henry VIII and Anne Boleyn during their relationship and courtship in the 1530s. So isn't it encouraging? At least we know that there are green shoots coming through, and I'm sorry to be a little bit twee about it, and here I am in my spring coronation invitation bolero. Do you remember this one, my dear? It seemed to tie in with the coronation invitation last year, the theme of that. Well, I brought it out for its spring airing this year. I couldn't wait to do so. And it's just the theme of spring, isn't it, and regeneration, and it's what we have with Catherine popping up for Mother's Day, as Kensington Palace released the first photograph of Catherine since her surgery as part of a message for Mothering Sunday, and that's here in the kingdom, it's Mother's Day, so don't worry if you're abroad. I know In America, for example, I think yours springs up in May, but it's Mother's Day here, and that's why I'm trying to race through this broadcast. I'm seeing my mummy this evening. It's going to be a very late one because I've got to travel to see her and a few members of my family, and I'm going to be bringing them a Thai takeaway. That's my offering this year, a Thai takeaway. And actually, they ignored my recommendation for the massaman curry and coconut rice, which I absolutely adore when I'm allowed to eat it. You see, I can't indulge because I'm on a particular diet at the moment, which is very annoying. I will be salivating over the whole affair, but I want to treat them and mummy, and they ignored my recommendation, and they're going to go for a sort of prawn and pineapple thing, which wouldn't be my cup of tea, but I'm sure they'll find it delicious. I digress. This photograph was captured by Prince William at home in Windsor earlier this week. The proof of the pudding is in the eating. Not that they needed to provide proof, and I stand by everything I said about them not needing or being coerced or forced into making updates on her health, which they haven't done, by the way. They've simply shared a photograph, thanking everybody for their concern. And they did it most graciously, I have to say, very dignified. Thank you for your kind wishes and continued support over the last 2 months. Wishing everyone a happy Mother's Day. See. And that says it all, doesn't it, my dear? Dignified, no drama, it's serene, it's a lovely photo with big wide smiles, and I'm sure it's a slap in the face for mischief-making conspiracy theorists, although no doubt there'll be loads of people popping up trying to find out what's been photoshopped. Oh, there's a finger here that looks odd, or a hair out of place there that makes it all, you know, it's a mirage. I've had several comments from Twisted Minds saying that she's not coming back, She's faded away from anorexia. She's gone into security. There's a lot of thin shaming out there as well, I have to say, on all sorts of levels. If people are a couple of stones overweight, you don't go up to them and say, you're too fat, get healthy. If you drop a stone or two, people come out with all kinds of nonsense. And poor Catherine is one of many who has to go through that sort of thing. And Buckingham Palace said that they are wishing all mothers and those who are missing their mums today a peaceful Mothering Sunday. But William did a wonderful job, didn't he? He captured the children in motion, in the motion of laughter, which we've seen a lot in photos that Catherine's taken over the last few years. That wonderful one of William surrounded by the kids, laughing away. And that really is what works, isn't it, in the modern day, rather than very sort of static photography. Having those broad grins and the gappy teeth smiles of all the young children there. Wonderful. Also, Buckingham Palace paid tribute to the Duke of Edinburgh, who turns 60 years old today. Happy birthday, Prince Edward. You are adored. You are seen by hundreds of thousands of my viewers and beyond who are learning what you do. And you are an unsung hero until the likes of me came along. I'll take all the credit. No, I'm jesting, but me, along with others, have brought to the world's attention what the unsung heroes of the royal family do, and Edward is certainly one of the most unsung. On the occasion of his birthday, His Majesty the King has been graciously pleased to appoint His Royal Highness to the most ancient and most noble Order of the Thistle. Isn't it a fabulous, grand-sounding title, my dear? The Order of the Thistle, most ancient and most noble. Sounds glorious, doesn't it? He joined 16 knights and ladies, the Queen, the Princess Royal, and the Duke of Rothesay, who is Prince William. That's his title when he's in Scotland, because this revolves around Scotland, you see, as the Royal Knights of the Thistle. This is the highest honour in Scotland. So a really happy moment and a gay celebration for Prince Edward. And Sophie's speech, which I briefly mentioned yesterday, which I will not read through because it was far too long, was more of a tribute to Prince Edward, a rare tribute. It was gorgeous. Look it up online. It'll be on that unofficial royal family channel, some of it anyway. They were at Headingley Stadium in Leeds at a Community Sport and Recreation Awards ceremony, and I was choked up by it. Sophie got choked up. Prince Edward had tears in the eyes. Everyone in the room was very moved by Sophie's words towards him, and just a few highlights saying he is the best of fathers, the most loving of husbands, and still is my best friend. They're very lucky to find each other, aren't they, my dear? He is very lucky to find a woman like Sophie, so royal, and likewise, what a fabulous man she has in Edward. What a fabulous man. Loving husband, loving father, as she says, and best friend. And you can see it, can't you? And no, I don't like to stoop to the level to mention the others and the Harkelinas, but the difference is quantifiable, it's tangible in something instinctive, isn't it? Because it's not a performative sort of love. My husband does this, my husband does that. My wife is wonderful. They don't bother with all of that, apart from once in 60 years, you know. You can feel it and you know its authenticity. That's the difference, my dear. It can't be taught, it can't be strung along. She says, I encourage you to take a walk through his CV of affiliations and marvel at the breadth of them, each doing their own part to make our world a better place, and to understand that he is not just a name on a piece of paper, but that he commits himself to them all and cares deeply for each of them. Like my father-in-law, my husband never seeks compliments for himself, which is why I am grateful for the chance to, for once, be able to publicly celebrate and compliment him. He was so happy and humbled when Her Majesty Queen Elizabeth made him a Knight of the Garter in 2006, and was equally delighted and moved the day His Majesty the King, who we are both incredibly proud to support, made him Duke of Edinburgh. And the reason I'm stressing that is because Sophie actually stressed that. What I should say is there was a serious sort of gravitas to her speech and her attitude when she said that part, almost as if she wanted everybody to know, watching, that they dearly are proud to support Charles, very much behind him, not reluctantly, not with rancour, because there are a few rumours that go around about whether or not they get along and whether or not they're as happy about him being sovereign as the late Queen. Yes, they are, and Sophie made it very plain, and I saw and I have seen much affection between Charles and Edward. Anyway, both he deserves in equal measure, and I am so proud of the man he is. We are too, my dear. So here's to my darling Edward. There was lots of darling, darling, darling in this speech. Darling Edward, and may I, along with all your family and so many friends and many others, wish you the happiest of birthdays. And we'll catch up with a few more of their activities later in the broadcast, but I must interject with a comment from, dare I say, a fruit basketeer, certainly a viewer of this channel, and that is Angie Smit. And this comment has thrilled me. Angie Smit, thank you for bringing yourself to my attention. Sometimes I get in a panic because as much as I try to read thousands of comments, I know some slip through the net that I don't read, and it pains me to think who I might have missed, because so many people of note and people that have been played a part in the public eye, whether that's an icon like the pop star Marilyn, who is a regular watcher of every single video of this channel, sends so much love to me. Hello Marilyn, my dear. Your fruity presence is very much cherished and appreciated. Many celebrities. I've had a cast member from Dallas, and it's a character that I very much enjoy watching, by the way. I've had a billionaire-ess, hotel heiress from the United States. You would know and recognise the chain of hotels. A billionaire heiress watches. I had the wife of a Bay City roller. I've had royalty, and as you know, even the likes of Bergie that I mentioned in yesterday's broadcast. Celebrities, some that I might mention at some point, or have some that I cannot mention. You know, it gets a lot of views. And a lot of people see this, and it just blows my mind. Opera singers, it's fantastic. And in this case, it is a bass player come ballet dancer that you probably haven't heard of, but played an important part in history. And I've certainly heard about and read about her past, but I had no idea she was watching. And just by chance, I happened to see her comment yesterday. Dear River, what fabulous antlers. Thank you. I can see you had a good, rough night. Love your broadcast. Just because you talked about Madonna. I'm Angie, the girl who played bass in The Breakfast Club. For those of you who don't know, before the film The Breakfast Club, there was a band called The Breakfast Club. It was Madonna's first band. She first played when she was coming on through with that ambitious early 80s, late 70s excitement in New York after moving from, was it Michigan or Detroit? She was in a band, a punk band. She wanted anything to be famous, whether it was dance, posing for photographers, music, whatever it was, she put her mind to it. She formed the Breakfast Club with Dan Gilroy, who she was seeing at the time, a boyfriend Dan and another one, and Angie. Angie was the bass player. She got rid of me. This is what Angie said. She got rid of me when I got more attention. And if you look at the photographs of them, there aren't many photographs to be found, but you can see why Angie was stealing attention from Madonna. Madonna has always been striking, gorgeous, with those huge eyes. I think she was fantastic looking. She was very thin then, more sort of gamine looking. And she had short, quite mousy hair, which didn't really show off the stunning sort of beauty that she does and can possess. But Angie was probably more obviously attention-getting. She got rid of me when I got more attention when we played in the clubs. Max's Kansas, it feels silly reading this out with my British accent, by the way, my English accent, because I can imagine you with a far more, I don't know, I'm not going to attempt it now because you're watching, but you know, a New York or a Brooklyn accent. I don't know where you hail from, my dear. But when we played in the clubs, Max's Kansas City, because I've heard of all these legendary venues, my dear, it's in my heart. Max's Kansas City and the Bowery. I went back, I've been to the Bowery. I went back to the ballet. Had fun with my gay friends. Late 70s, 80s Manhattan. Oh! See, I watch videos of 70s and 80s Manhattan on YouTube all the time. And I want those days. The dressing up box affair, the glitter, the clothes, everything not quite so sophisticated and technological and clean and anodyne as it is nowadays, my dear. Smoking all over the place, drugs, messiness, colour, vibrancy. Oh, they were the best of times, weren't they, my dear, even though I wasn't actually there. What fabulous fun. They sewed me into a gorgeous outfit, gave me amazing shoes from photo shoots. Then we'd get a limo off to Studio 54 at 1 a.m. Then to the gay bars and sex clubs in the meatpacking district. I could tell you stories. Oh, well, we could swap some stories, my dear. Also loved the Puerto Rican drag queens. Beautiful. When I came to London in the 90s, the scene was very different. They didn't even let me into the gay bars. It was upsetting, as my best friends in NYC were lovely gay people. Well, that is strange, my dear. I can't imagine London being quite so unfriendly. I suppose you chose the wrong club. Anyway, you made me reminisce. Love your take on the horrid Markle succubus. Woohoo! That's your words, my dear, not mine. Although I'm not saying I disagree with you. And yes, my abdominal surgery took ages, even though, like Catherine, I was athletic. Yes, my dear, athletic. Not gaunt, not undernourished, athletic. Some people have forgotten what an athletic, lean body looks like. And so much so that they think it's unhealthy. Also, mentally and spiritually, very hard to get over. Wishing her well. Well, we wish you very well, my dear Angie. Thank you so much for letting me know you're watching. It thrills me. Truly, it thrills me as much as it would if Madonna was to leave a comment and say that she's been watching. Truly. Because you were there, even though it sounds like you had a rivalry with Madonna and perhaps she was a little bit jealous of you and you left. You were there. You witnessed this legendary period in time. Documentaries have been made about. In fact, there is a documentary with somebody playing you, Angie dear, that I happen to know about. And you saw it. You saw it. You witnessed a little bit of rock history, because let's face it, she is a huge star, one of the biggest shining stars of recent generations. And I tried to read up a little bit about you a moment ago. I haven't had time to go into it, but I see that Madonna's dancer friend Angie was brought into the band. So she met you when you were a dancer. Afterwards you went on to do ballet. But I think it's Dan Gilroy that describes you, Angie, as tall, stately, with beautiful lips. And I'm going to leave a link in the description box to a duet that I found on YouTube of our viewer Angie with Madonna, duetting with Madonna on a song called I Got Trouble. which is described as sounding like the B-52s. I think it's great. I think it's great. I've only had time to listen to it once through, and I loved it. 6,000 times better than anything Madonna's released over the last 15, 20 years, by the way. Joy, energy, fabulousness. Why doesn't she do that? Why doesn't she re-record that instead of all the rubbish she's come out with lately? I'm being a little bit harsh, but you know. Only because I adore Madonna and I think that she has got great talent, but some of the music, not so great recently. I mean, you know, we're in the presence of rock royalty, my dear. Rock royalty. I am impressed. It takes quite a lot to impress me, I've got to say. I have met Madonna. I've dined with Madonna on several occasions. And I'm more impressed by this. I was also rather tickled, or should I say poked and annoyed, by the arrival of Meghan and Harry on the scene at Uvalde, Texas. Again, a surprise visit to the family of the teacher who was killed in the school shooting in Texas. Irma Garcia died while protecting children at the Robb Elementary School. Meghan led celebrations for her sister, and she trundled out with a cake and happy birthday. And, you know, it's hard for me to discuss this without saying that the family appear absolutely thrilled by it. You know, I do take that into account. If they're making people happy, then I can't, with all authenticity, complain about that, can I, my dears? If it's bringing them joy and soothing them as a balm, then that's wonderful. For example, the nephew said, "The Duchess, she's so sweet and lovely. She really went out of her way to check on the family. It means so much." That's what he said at the time. And then yesterday he said, "They're such a beautiful couple and I'm so blessed. So glad they came back to check up on the family. Can't believe how loving and supportive they are, especially to my amazing cousins." And Meghan Markle singing "My Mum Happy Birthday," or "My Mom." It's so hard to say the American version of mom in English. It sounds stupid. You know, my mom. You kind of have to say it with an accent. And I'm sure that mum, as we say here in the kingdom, sounds ridiculous to the American tongue. You know, mommy, mum. You probably think of an Egyptian mummy, whereas for us, it almost seems like a violation to see it written as M-O-M, as mom. It's just wrong. But I do realise, for you looking at our mummy, it would seem very wrong as well. Isn't it strange, the little diversions in language? But I digress. My mom, happy birthday, was the cutest, most adorable thing ever. She even bought her a cake. Oh, I wonder if she baked it herself. Probably. This is Meghan, the Nigella of Uvalde. So, you know, in one aspect I can't criticise them bringing this family joy, and I wish them all the love in the world, but just as recently I described much of their behaviour as performative, I'm afraid that I might be just a twisted cynic, but I do see the air of performativeness about this kind of thing, just as I did when she rushed to show her affection and her respect as if she is the queen. This is the thing. She says she's a philanthropist, and they say they have this foundation and they're doing good, but they are not ambassadors for any country or any county, and that is the way they are behaving, and that's what annoys me, because I find it performative and rather pretentious. And why does the camera even have to be there honing in on Meghan brandishing the cake? I suppose it's their way of promoting Archewell, but it comes across as rather immodest. And it's not the young man's fault. I'm certainly not criticising him or his family, but, you know, referring to her as the Duchess this and the Duchess that, and we're so honoured. It's not his fault whatsoever, because he's been drawn into that world because Meghan and Harry have rushed up there. But it sticks in the core of those of us who do not want them acting as if they represent the king and this nation or their own kingly estate in Montecito. The way to do it is the way that the likes of Princess Anne do it, because the Princess Royal has been visiting Dubai, the United Arab Emirates, as president of the Mission to Seafarers, who help to provide support and help to the 2 million people who face danger every day to keep the global economy afloat, through a global network of chaplains, staff and volunteers, which offers practical, emotional and spiritual support to seafarers. On arrival, Her Royal Highness visited the Jebel Ali port, which is the busiest in the Middle East. She heard about the innovative technology, and she attended a Women and Shipping Trading Conference panel discussion regarding seafarers' welfare with an emphasis on women in shipping and trade. She opened the new Donnelly Lines facility out on the airbase, and she enjoyed a lovely cup of tea. As president of the Royal Yachting Association, she toured Dubai's offshore sailing club, and she ended that particular day with a dinner hosted by representatives of the mission to seafarers. She also spent time at an hotel named for her late mother, the Queen Elizabeth II Hotel, and she wore this aquamarine dress that we saw last year at Ascot. She paired it very nicely last year with the cream-coloured top, but it's the one that she's owned for 46 years. It was first worn in 1978, and it thrills every time she brings it out of the closet. And it has that statement collar with the checked bodice, and she wore it with gold and pearls and a cream clutch and looked absolutely heavenly. Prince William was at the Oval Cricket Ground, or should I say the Kia Oval Cricket Ground. I presume, I don't know why it's got Kia in front of it now. I presume it's one of those things that's under sponsorship, probably from some nefarious quarters, but it's the Oval. It's the Oval. But now they're calling it the Kia Oval Cricket Ground. And he was there with the co-founder and the CEO of that Earthshot Prize winner. Do you remember Norplant? The seaweed-based packaging company who have got great futures in front of them, because the product is being introduced to over 50 sporting and event venues in the United Kingdom with William's help. And an expected 75 million items of Norplant packaging is expected to be used over the next 3 years at least. Isn't that wonderful? And the Kia Oval, you see, Prince William basically owns the Oval because it comes under the Duchy of Cornwall, which is the Duchy of Cornwall land, which is William's now. And Prince William has played a pivotal role in supporting the relationship between Norplant and their new partners, Levy or Levy. I think Levy, UK and Ireland, they're the ones who have partnered with Norplant, you see, and they're going to be distributing this seaweed-based, natural plant-based product and packaging all over the kingdom. Millions and millions. Fabulous news. William walking the walk, not just talking the talk, like Archie will. And back to the Edinburghs briefly for their stint in Staffordshire, because they did spread a lot of joy in the run-up to Edward's 60th birthday. It began with a visit to the Right Stuff project, which was founded in 2009 to tackle youth crime and antisocial behaviour. And Sophie was in her piper boots. She was in a double-faced cashmere coat with a moon-shoulder bag, meeting volunteers, coaches and boxers. And Edward joined in a boxing drill with the young trainees and met cadets. He joined in with their training of first aid, forensic elimination and radio communications. And at the Rising Brook Community Church, they spoke with the community, they helped out with the food bank, and they conducted conversations on avoiding knife crime and not being seduced into that world for all the youngsters there. So that was very constructive. And at the rugby trials at Headingley Stadium, they met the female players. There was a focus on the female players, and there was an award ceremony related to it with a very attractive cake. I highly approve of that cake. Yum, yum, nosh, nosh, nosh. And Sophie was wearing a Max Mara blazer on this occasion with a stripe print ruched sleeve cashmere jumper, a pair of ankle boots by Saint Laurent, and the golden thread quote pendant, together with her Hausberg Louisa bag in beige stripe. And let's round off with the Duke of Kent, who was at a special service of Thanksgiving at Westminster Abbey as the Royal National Lifeboat Institution celebrates 200 years of saving lives at sea, the RNLI. He met with volunteers and workers at the charity and inspected 3 lifeboats. And also in attendance was the Vice Admiral Sir Timothy Lawrence. And in case you didn't know, the Duke of Kent's mother, Princess Marina, was president of the charity until the existing current Duke of Kent took over in 1969. So all those years working very hard for a wonderful cause, working hard through every single season up to now. Isn't that wonderful? Well, that's royalty. He channels the royal spirit, my dear, and I hope you do too. Remember to check out the link in the description box to that fabulous punky song, the duet between Madonna and our fellow basketeer Angie Smit. Wonderful, really cheered me up. Enjoy whatever you're doing today, and I will see you on the next broadcast. Thank you for dropping by. Lots of love and toodle pip.